So let's sit upright if we can. Several things to mention. One way is to say that let there be stillness in the body as we sit, which may not be so easy, but we can try. So to slow down and have the body be still and in good contact with the cushion or chair. Second point is to be in a state of ease, relaxation. Again, it's all relative, but the point is we shouldn't be stressing and tensing as though we were about to engage in something very difficult or trying or whatever. There should be a sense of ease, a sense of coming home. One example given by one teacher is, after a long, hard day's work, you come back home and you sit in your favorite armchair, if it's a cold day, in front of the fire, and that sense of ease and relaxation that occurs at that point. However, the third point is that we don't allow that relaxation or ease to become sleepiness. So the third factor is attention, attentiveness, awareness, vigilance, we could say. So there's a state of being awake, alert. So those three things: sense of stillness, sense of ease and relaxation in the body and mind, and a sense of being awake and alert. Another way, and this is, I find, especially useful, possibly for beginners, and it was in fact asked of a Lama when there was a group of beginners. So the Lama was asked, what advice would you give, some essentials for meditation in general? And there wasn't much time. And so he said, there are three things: a sense of calm, a sense of clarity, and a sense of kindness. Calm, clear, kind. So that's also, I think, very useful. So the sense of calm, we're not rushing around, we're not planning or being ambitious or trying to produce anything, hectically, keep up with our daily agenda. So the sense of calm, and then the clarity that automatically comes from calm. So the example given here, which is useful, is that imagine if you have a jar of water with a lid, and you've also put some earth in that jar with the water. If you shake that jar vigorously, there will just be earth swirling around, and there'll be no clarity in that jar. You can't see through it. It's just a mass of whirling earth particles, right? So if you just then stop shaking that jar, put it on a flat surface, let it be, then all the earth will just subside to the bottom. And the water, again, will become clear. And also this is an example given for the fact that the mind, like the water, is naturally, you could say, the natural state of it is to be clear. If we just stop shaking it around, messing it up, it's naturally clear. Third factor, kindness. It's very easy to approach whatever we do in life in a very clinical way, effective way, efficient way. But sometimes we know it lacks a sense of the moisture of kindness, gentleness, tenderness, we might say also. So there needs to be that sense of kindness towards oneself, first of all, and then that naturally can pervade the atmosphere. We don't really have to make some huge effort to extend that kindness necessarily. The natural sense of openness and kindness. And of course, what we're doing now, this 45 minutes, the short session, is simply a preparation for Venerable Robina Courtin's talk at 7:30, where she'll be talking about opening the heart. What was the actual title that was given?
Stops us from being.
What
stops us from being or open our heart to them.
What stops us from opening our heart to others, I believe. So this is all, you see, what stops us, and of course she will go into it in great depth. What stops us is the opposite of what we've said so far. Opposite of stillness, opposite of relaxation, opposite of attentiveness, opposite of calm, opposite of clear, opposite of kindness, right? These are factors effectively close us down. We become very cocoon-like, rigidly caught up in our own little hectic, stressful world. Mentally, and then it has a deep effect long-term on the body as well. So anyway, calm, clear, kind. This is not some meditation. It's not like our normal worldly business, you could say. So sitting upright, begin to pay attention to, if you haven't already, your breath and the fact that your body is in contact with something. It's in contact with a cushion or chair, sofa. Pay attention to that sensation, which means we have to let go of our total immersion, near total immersion in our thoughts, in our thinking process. And we have to come back to the actual body. Although there is no actual body, but the so-called body. Contact of your body with the cushion. The sensation of it, we mean, not the thought of it, not the image of it. And then bring the attention also to the fact that we are breathing. There is breath entering and leaving our body. This has been going on since we were born, of course. But we may not have paid it much attention unless we were introduced to some kind of breath awareness, pranayama in the Hindu yogic system. But here we're just watching natural flow of in-breath, out-breath, not trying to control it in any way. Simply being aware of it, the sensation of it, especially at the nostrils, if you can, as you breathe in and out. How does the breath feel at the nostrils? Let there be a natural sense of letting go and relaxing with the out-breath. Now, another factor which is useful as part of the preparation is that this upright posture we adopt is not just random. Not only does the physical energy, gross physical energy, and also subtle physical energy, of which the Eastern religions were very aware, and for which many processes, practices were developed to refine it. In this upright position, all the subtle and gross energies flow rather better. Plus, there's a natural sense of self-confidence and composure when we sit like this, as a result of the inner energies being able to flow more easily. Mental composure and confidence easier to maintain. And in this posture, the front of the body is naturally exposed. Often, of course, we don't want to be exposed. We are, with our posture and so forth, we are trying to hide. We are trying to shield ourselves from a world, an environment which we consider a little bit untrustworthy, you could say, hostile. So in this posture, we are letting go of that sense of fear or mistrust. We're opening up. The heart is exposed. It's exposed to others, exposed to the world. So posture here already is proclaiming and helping us with letting go of whatever acts as a barrier between ourselves and others. So this posture, very significant, very wonderful. It's dignified, self-confident, as well as having that quality of openness, natural warmth. We're not trying to hide. So again, just let there be natural sense of uprightness, relaxed, attentive. See if you can just be aware of the breath for a little while and notice how thoughts come and just recognize them without any kind of impatience. Recognize, but try not to follow them. Don't get caught up in a storyline. Just let them go. Let the thought go, or the memory, or whatever, the plan for later. Let it go and come back to the breath, back to the sensation of the breath, and the letting go with the out breath. Just experiment with this for a few minutes in a very relaxed but attentive fashion. As a way of also making friends with oneself, with the natural awareness that we all possess. Okay. We can maintain this sense of calm, clear, and kind throughout the session. We'll look briefly at what we call the four immeasurables, immeasurable thoughts, called immeasurable because they refer to the so-called Mahayana or great vehicle Buddhism attitude of opening up to everybody, absolutely everybody, every being with consciousness, whether, as the Buddha said or mentioned, whether it's a human, an animal, a god, a demigod, or any of the other beings who are in a state of woe, in a state of suffering, of which, of course, all beings are in that suffering state, according to Buddha. That is, of course, his first teaching, that there is dukkha, there is misery of one sort or another. So the immeasurables refer to, have as their object, you could say, every being, without exception. That is the aim, is to encompass all beings. So we cannot say, these beings, somebody hasn't been kind to me, so there's no way I can include that person as an object of my immeasurable love or compassion or equanimity or sympathetic joy. We cannot say that. Well, of course, we say that in the beginning, but the purpose is to go beyond that, to develop such a powerful sense of goodness, kindness, that it encompasses everyone. And this is possible because, as we've said many times before and mentioned so many times, we all have that potential for goodness. We have the Buddha nature. In other words, what the teachings are saying is that we can all become a Buddha, fully awakened. And a fully awakened being has no bias, no prejudice whatsoever. All beings are embraced by the love and compassion of a fully awakened person. Of course, these four immeasurables, ideally, they would themselves be prefaced with meditations on suffering and so forth. But I think we're all intelligent enough to know how, actually, if we think about it, everybody has some kind of difficulty or pain, mental, physical. Everybody wants to be happy, whether you like them or not. Everybody wants happiness, just like you and me. No, there's no discrimination there. Of course, what makes certain people happy may not make us happy, but the point is we all do strive for happiness, satisfaction. The tragedy, of course, being that most of us don't know where to really find that lasting satisfaction. We're experts at short-term thrills and pleasures and so forth. But long-term satisfaction and happiness or bliss, that is known to very, very few beings. And according to the tradition, only those who have cultivated their inner sources of happiness and bliss have that kind of experience. Cannot be gained from outer objects or persons. So anyway, we could start with immeasurable equanimity briefly, and we'll look at it in the way that it is looked at in the Mahayana tradition, which is the school of Buddhism that emphasizes how we can all become Buddha, not just free ourselves from suffering, but we can become Buddhas who constantly strive to help and liberate all living beings. If you ask why beings haven't been liberated yet, what are the Buddhas doing? Are they on strike or sleeping? No, they're constantly striving, but most people have their, if you like, their doors and windows shut. So with that situation, the sun and the wind cannot enter such a place. So we need to be open and interested. Only then can Buddha's insight, energy, manifestations affect us. Okay, so let's start with immeasurable equanimity. And it will be a little new for some people, but we'll go through it. You'll get some idea of what's going on. You might help for you to just visualize or imagine that you are surrounded by people, your mother, your father, your friends, your relatives, a whole mass of people around you. Keep it simple if it's difficult. And of course, it's hard to visualize. You might be able to remember your father's and mother's face or your favorite or unfavorite people, but others may be hard to imagine, but just feel that there. Everybody is here with us, all beings. Animals as well, but maybe keep it to humans for the time being. So the first four, each of these four immeasurables has four phases, four parts. The first part of immeasurable equanimity is to think how wonderful it would be if all beings were to abide in equanimity, free from feeling close to some, very close to some, and distant from others. Okay, so already it's saying we feel very close to some people, very attached, and we feel very distant from others. We feel others, we don't care about them, or actually we find them very distasteful. Some of them we even wish to harm, or may have already harmed in some way. So here we're saying, may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from the attachment to some and aversion to others. It's basically reminding us of our attachments and our aversions, and to maintain a more balanced attitude, and to think how wonderful it would be if all beings were to abide in that equanimity. Of course, we could make this very long, and you could think about how disastrous it is in this world when people are attached to some and feel angry and so forth towards others. It's the cause of most of the suffering, isn't it? To feel averse, to feel against others, it creates war, creates domestic conflict up to national conflicts, international conflicts. And our attachments towards some just mean that, we take care of some people, so then obviously we don't take care enough of other people. And then we're disappointed, of course, when things change and the people we're attached to, that attachment fades, the love fades, the whatever, or they die, or they turn against us. So that becomes a big problem. So may all sentient beings be free from attachment and aversion, feeling close to some and distant from others. Now, the second phase is to think not just how wonderful, may it be like that. May they abide in this way. May they abide in equanimity. It's wonderful, yes, but may it actually happen. So this is taking one stage further. May they abide in equanimity, free from feeling attachment to some and distant from others. Hmm. That would be something. People who are right now in a state of conflict or in a state of being obsessed with each other, if they could have a calmer, clearer mind, free of that attachment, free of the anger and aversion, may that happen. Third phase makes it a Mahayana practice, because here we're going to be very brave and take responsibility. Here the attitude is this: I myself will enable them to abide in this way. Meaning, I myself will do what I can to help beings abide in equanimity, free from aversion and attachment, free from feeling close to some and distant from others. I will do something. One takes some responsibility. It's not just how wonderful, may it happen. That's a good thought. Those are good thoughts. But here we're saying, I myself will do something. It's very powerful, very courageous, very outrageous in one way, you could say. Mahayana is very outrageous. It takes a very vast kind of attitude. It almost feels very egotistical or overambitious. But maybe that's partly what opening the heart is about. Going beyond our normal, sort of politically correct attitudes. So actually quite biased, usually. So, I myself will enable them to abide in equanimity. So the fourth stage of this is to, especially, one realizes one needs help in this matter. At the moment, we are what we call baby Mahayanists, baby bodhisattvas, meaning we're just kind of generating this strong aspiration as much as we can to be of benefit to others, which is the Mahayana attitude, in a sense, wanting to benefit others. So, but we need help. So the fourth stage is, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, please bestow your inspiring strength to enable me to do this. I want to do it, I will do it, but I need also your guidance, your inspiring strength right now. So one had taken refuge in Buddha, the teachings and the spiritual community, if one has faith in the Guru and so forth, the teacher, then this can be very powerful. And we acknowledge that they can help us with their examples, with their guidance, with their teachings. So please, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, bestow your inspiring strength to enable me to do this, enable me to help others abide in equanimity. Another way to say it is to please bestow your blessings. Blessings is not some kind of mystical thing necessarily. It means inspiration, energy. To enable me to do this. So this is immeasurable equanimity in a nutshell. Then immeasurable love. Love here is, so how wonderful it would be if all beings were to experience happiness and the causes of happiness. How wonderful it would be if all beings had happiness and its causes, because happiness has causes, in the sense that if we live a totally degenerate life, without any kind of control and harming others and ourselves in all sorts of ways, then to expect happiness is totally stupid. Happiness has causes, short-term causes, long-term causes. So how wonderful if beings could experience happiness and its causes. This is actually love. Love is not attachment, picking out one person and putting all one's energy on them or something like that. It's the sense of how wonderful it would be if all beings had happiness and the causes of happiness. Again, may they have happiness and its cause, causes, more than one cause. May they have happiness and its causes. I myself will enable them to have happiness and its causes. How about that? That's amazing. It's like a mother with a large family. She wants happiness for all her children. How wonderful. May they. I myself will enable them to have happiness and its causes. She'll do whatever she can to make every single one of her children happy. And they say that the Mahayanist, excuse me, the genuine Mahayanist, or Bodhisattva so-called, feels all living beings as like their only child. Takes care of them in that way, has that attitude towards them. So I myself will enable all beings to have happiness and the causes of happiness. I'll do what I can. I'll take responsibility. Again, very brave, very courageous attitude, which right now we have to fake it. Let's be honest, right now it's a fake. But fakes are very useful in the beginning, just like photocopies. Photocopies are very useful. So in a sense, it's a facsimile, but it's very useful. It's better than thinking, to hell with others. May they rot. May they rot in hell. My enemies, may they rot in hell. This is a much, much more powerfully beneficial attitude to think how wonderful if they had happiness. I myself will enable them. Okay, you get the idea. So think about some people you don't like very much. One would, of course, if one had time, you start with people you love very much, and then it's very easy to want them to be happy. And then people who you don't like so much, and then people you dislike. Why should one want them to be happy? Why should one enable them? Well, because they're like you and me. They want to be happy. They're only behaving badly or whatever in a way you don't like, partly because of your projection, but also because they are suffering. The worse they behave, you might say, the more problems they have, the more unfortunate they are. Like a sick person with some kind of very powerful sickness who behaves like a lunatic. People who behave badly are like that. So one must wish them happiness. One must enable them to have happiness and its cause. And if they become our friends, then that's, something good for us, right? We're kind to people, more likely they may reciprocate. Anyway, fourth, please, Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, bestow your inspiring strength to enable me to do this. What? Enable me to do what? Enable me to bestow happiness and its causes on people. Enable me to bring happiness and its causes to people, to everybody. Extraordinary thinking. Very extraordinary thought. But if you think about it, it's something very amazing. The alternative, we see what the results of the alternative kind of thinking is. Look at the world today. On the verge of destruction. It's ridiculous. Crazy. So this immeasurable is a jolly good idea. Extraordinarily good policy to adopt. Attitude. Third, compassion. We're rushing through because we only have 5 minutes, 6 minutes. So before a little break, before Venerable's talk, So the third is compassion. So how wonderful it would be if all beings were free of suffering and the causes of suffering. That is compassion, the wish for beings to be free of suffering and its causes. Causes are very deep. Causes are being called various ways of defining it: craving, desire, or to be more precise, delusion and karma. Deluded states of mind and the deluded harmful actions that occur due to these deluded states of mind. Killing, stealing, all the rest of that comes from deluded, ignorant states of mind, angry states of mind, attached states of mind. So how wonderful it would be if all beings were free of suffering and its causes. Free basically of delusion and karma. How wonderful that would be. May it happen. May they be free of suffering and its causes. You know what's coming next. I myself will enable them to be free of suffering and its causes. I'll do it. I'm not going to pass it on to someone else. I don't expect the government or the UN or somebody to take care of all the problems. I myself will do what I can. Please, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, bestow your inspiring strength to enable me to do this. If one were practicing in a certain way, one would imagine a lot of light and nectar coming from the heart of the Buddha or your teacher, bringing you the inspiring strength, cleansing oneself of everything that is an obstacle to developing this wonderful attitude, and bestowing the qualities that enable us to develop this wonderful attitude. Because right now we're full of hesitation, doubts, feelings of wanting to preserve ourselves, self-cherishing, and so forth. So we pray that we generate that we receive the inspiring strength to enable us to do this. Lastly, immeasurable sympathetic joy. This is basically saying how wonderful it is if all beings were to experience the happiness of higher rebirth and liberation. Just, of course, it could be anything. In general, we could say how wonderful if all beings could experience the happiness of having plenty of good things to eat and drink, and have temporal and ultimate joy and happiness. But here specifically, how wonderful if beings could experience the happiness of being human, for example, and of liberation, being free of samsara completely, being free of suffering completely. And then may they experience this, the happiness of higher rebirth and liberation. Then again, taking responsibility. I myself will enable them to experience that. And then again, requesting the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, please bestow your inspiring strength to enable me to do this. So anyway, these four, they can be studied and meditated on a lot, various ways of reflecting on them. But the point is they are trying to expand our attitude, aren't they? Right now we have a very tight attitude usually. We have a lot of personal likes and dislikes, if we're honest. Some very gross, some more subtle, but we do have it. So here we're trying to open up to all beings, because we realize they're all in a state of suffering. And if one is serious about becoming a fully awakened person, one cannot have any kind of bias. One cannot not love somebody. One cannot not have compassion for anybody. One has to have compassion for everybody, whatever they may have done to us or want to do to us, So anyway, this is like a preparation for the extraordinary mind of what we call bodhicitta, the aspiration to become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings and guide them all to enlightenment. Very sublime state of mind. So 4 immeasurables are like a preparation or moistening, a preparation for that. So if you want to study more on them, there's some excellent material in the books of, for example, Alan Wallace, B. Alan Wallace, one of the Western scholars who's very good and written a lot about shamatha practice as well, the calm abiding meditations. So he has written excellently also on the 4 immeasurables, and there is a book of his called The 4 Immeasurables, and he intersperses it with the calm abiding attentional training practice. He often intersperses the 4 immeasurables to give a kind of more, a sense of also openness and kindness. Otherwise, practices can become a bit dry and very somewhat technical. So he often in his teachings, in his books, intersperses the 4 immeasurables. So that is very worthwhile to look at, to read B. Alan Wallace on the immeasurables. Okay, so thank you for your attention. I hope you'll all hang on and listen to Venerable Robina's talk. It is not on this Zoom ID, so kindly refer to the posting, and that will have the ID that you need, the Zoom ID for the next session, which will start in approximately 15 minutes at 7:30. So thank you very much for your attention to this. And hopefully you'll have time in the future to look more at the 4 immeasurables. It's considered a very important practice. Yeah, so thank you very much. And I hope you enjoy Venerable Robina's talk. Okay. Thank you.